Okay, I got the crank trued up. So it's good enough for mock-up now. I went ahead and cleaned up this case over here. Clean up all the muck in there. Honed out the case right so that we hopefully can put a bearing in there. We'll have to find out. Alright, so this here is a 67 case. 8 to 67's casting, so it's probably a 68 bike. It's made for the late model automatic balance distributor, which I think came out in 67. So it's definitely a 68 style case. So it's a nice case. So we're going to butcher it for racing. This one over here is a 65 case, 8 to 65, so that means it's a 66 KO motor bike. So we're going to butcher this one up a lot too. So we're going to take a nice set of expensive cases and cut them up. Do what I want with them, which means I'm going to make them not useless for the street bike anymore. Alright, so we're going to see if that crank will fit in this combination here. So this case here needs to have a Timken conversion done on it. That is from early to late Timken. So for initial mock-up purposes, we're going to just grab a couple of bearing races and a spacer. I need a spacer, one of these. So grab an old looking one. It's old. So we have to do, we're going to have to squeeze this thing down and shove it into here. Now this one here, I think it'll clear. Let's see, wasn't there a Timken bearing over here laying around all this junk? Yeah, there was. 2 races and a bearing, just what we need. So will this fit through this hole? Yes, it does. So it clears. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. I don't remember exactly where the dimension goes, but in this case we're going to push this all the way in until it hits that snap ring there. So right or wrong, it's going to go in there. So what they did on these early motors was they pushed all the Timken bearing, had a one-piece race that looked like, no, hold on, which way they do on this bike? No, they had 2 races. I'm thinking of a Sportster. And what they did was they have a snap ring that was on the other side. The 2 races pushed down until they hit, and then they had a screw-on retainer that held it all together. And that's how they did it. On the later motors, they stuck this snap ring in the middle, and it went between the 2 bearings, and they pushed it together like that. And the groove that this sat in is what retained the bearing. So then they just had a seal out here and no retainer. So that means it made it easier to change out, and it also had a real seal in the motor. Before they didn't have a seal. So it helps slow down a leak. I don't know if it would stop it, but it slowed it down. So that's the difference. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to retrofit this thing. I'm going to stuff these parts and get that snap ring and call it done. And then I'll try to mock this up. So let's go try that and see how it works. Yeah, what's the worst thing that happened? We're going to screw up something? Oh well, who cares? We're just putting together junk anyway. More junk. Got junk everywhere around here right now. A wheel on the floor. Anybody need a wheel? Got a wheel. Broken trannies. All kinds of junk laying in my way around here. I can't get any work done. Alright, first thing I do is get the part for this. Otherwise known as a tool. That'll work. So we'll push with this. So we're just going to go over here, do a little pressing over here on the press. So instead of so if you don't want to use full pressure with this, you can actually heat this up cherry red and just squeeze it together and lose all its tension. It'll work better for mock-up purposes. You still would have to, You have to make it correct to actually use it. Well, we're not going to care about that for what we're doing. Okay, so we're just going to push this together. Let's see if I got something here to push on besides the case, even though early motors can do that no problem. Yeah, this will work for now. Piece of tube. Tube over. Yeah, perfect length. Look at that. Almost like we knew what the hell we were doing around here. We know that's not true. Quit moving, quit pushing. So that one's all the way in and gets the snap ring now. I'm going to push this thing in there. I don't know if that's going to go in there very well. I think that's going to screw the case up a little bit. So that's going to be a problem. So we're going to fix that problem. Grab a piece of pipe. I'm going to squeeze it down a little bit. Pretty springy, it doesn't make any difference. Make a little difference on that side, not much. Pretty springy stuff. A little extra. Starting to go down now. So I actually pushed it so it was down about this far into the inside of it. Now yes, this is dangerous. It can come out and chase after me. We are expecting that, so that's normal. If you don't have parts chasing after you, what fun is it? So that still might not work. I might have to go put a torch to this. See if that did the trick. Probably helped a little bit, but doesn't want to quite go in there like that. Ooh, there we go. That did it. Muscle force. So I was able to get to go in there that far. All I need is a big screwdriver right now to push that over and shove it in the rest of the way. So I squeezed up enough with the press to make it work. So there's still a little prying tool here. More one way of doing stuff like this. Whatever it takes. past the inlet, and I just put a race on top and shove it all in. Should be fine. Good to go. Go. All right, one Timken conversion kit installed. It's not like a twin cam bike though. All right, so that's in there. I think the spacing's a little bit off. It's probably too far to the inside on this side maybe, which shoves the crank that way, which in my case won't be a bad thing. Because we'll be seeing that here shortly why that won't be a bad thing. Okay. Grab a couple tools here. You gotta make sure you put your stuff away here when you're done. So you don't lose it. Always gotta put your tools away. At least you should. Okay. Now, I need a spacer and a tool to install the crank in the case. Now, normally I would try to hone this for a little while and make it bigger. I don't feel like screwing around that today, so I'm just going to put it together. We're just going to grab ourselves a decent sized spacer. I'm thinking of number 12, I got a lot of them. Usually somewhere around between a 5 and an 8, or lately between 5 and 10. Mainly 8 to 10, but we'll try 12. It's a good starting point. So this goes in between the Timkens, that's what sets your end play. Okay, so I'm going to take the tool and let's put this together. It's this S&S crank. Use the S&S tool holder, thumb holder. It's not made by S&S, it's made by Dad Tatro. You have to figure out who that is. Spacer. There, the bearing. Definitely needs some honing. Well, that's perfect. Good guess. Just the right amount of in play for racing. Okay, whew, that's tiring. Alright, so now I got cases here. So, this here is a cone motor. It sticks out more than a generator motor, because this is a generator motor, it has a generator on it. So this sticks out. I'm not sure how far. I'm trying to get that information from S&S. They haven't told me yet the difference. But in Andrew's book, it gives you a dimension of what that is. So, I'll go over to the Andrew's book I just picked up. What did I do with it? Looks like I lost it. And it's in my bag down here so I can read it. Andrews. So Andrews makes Harley parts, not just NASCAR stuff. These are cans. We don't care about the cans. All right, let's put this over here. They make main shafts for 4-speed bikes. Guess what? This is a 4-speed bike. So there's 3 different lengths of 4-speed main shafts. So they have different lengths. So the difference between the early one and this bike is 255 thousandths. The difference between the early one and the late one is 740 thousandths. The difference between the 65 crank, the late 60s Chevrolet crank, and the cone motor is 485 thousandths according to Andrew's main shaft length. Obviously the main shaft got moved over. You think probably the chain line moved over also to match. So it looks like it's almost a ½ inch wider than stock. So if this bearing is sticking a little bit too far, that's not really going to hurt me all that much because this whole darn shaft is sticking out a ½ inch too far. So what I want to do, instead of having this thing all the way like this on the bike and boring this out for a big bore and have no material in the case, I was going to put a spacer between the case half, and looks like we can go probably a ½ inch, and this will still be the correct length on this side. We put a spacer on the inside of the flower to move it over, and it would work, and that'd be like over to here. So that would set me up for the correct length. So I'm not going to go a ½ inch because I think we probably got 100 thou extra over here, so I only need about 3/8 of an inch. So what I don't know is how much I need. So that's what we're working on. So right now what I need to do is check to see if the main bearing fits on this right now. So I can actually bolt this thing together. There's a couple other things I want to look at first before I continue. So first thing I do is see what bearing size we need. What did I do with those rollers that we had? Okay. So here's our junk Evo rollers. Perfect, fits like a glove. Look at that. Oh, it even rotates in there, look at that. What do you mean you can't put long parts in wrong motors? Sure you can. You can mix and match stuff all you want. If you want to do an offset wide drive for a generator motor, guess what? You got an extra ½ inch sticking out here right now to put a pulley on there and move it out. Put a wide tire kit on the generator bike. Who's done that lately? Nobody. Who would want to? Okay, so that all fits in there. So we know this fits. I need to find a bunch of bolts to go through and hold it together too. Okay, next thing I want to do is check my piston height. And I got to remember what I did with the pistons for this motor. So the original pistons were down here. These are called broken because the cylinders match. Hey, there's more rods I can build. Steel parts. I told you I have more parts lying around. Okay, this is a set of cylinders I picked up off of eBay. Some moron broke them. Caused that problem right there. Now a dumbass would know better to do this. This is called a moron. That's one step below a dumbass. So when you put big ass cylinders on a Harley motor, what happens is this bolt gets real thin here, and you actually cut into it about like maybe that far. And the same on the other bolts here, they get right up into them. And when you put your top end on here, you cannot put the bolt through this hole if the top end's on it because the cylinder's in the way because it overlaps the hole. So you cut the bolt out for clearance. So what this dumbass did was they put the top end on the bike and then they beat the bolt in or out. And when they did that, they shoved the cylinder in right here. I don't know if you can see that, but that is really bent in a long ways. And see the gap there? See that gap under there? It ain't supposed to be there. It's supposed to be flat like this. See how much it is? This is no longer round here either. There's a big flat spot in there. See that big flat spot? Kind of matches like a bolt went through there, doesn't it? So if you try to bend this back, you'll probably just break this off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bore it out and hone it to size, and this is going to be what it's going to be. Because these are, you know, $1,600 cylinders. I'm going to run them. Now, when you run this piston up and down, and all of a sudden you have a spot that's, you know, 30, 40 thou, 50 thou, whatever the hell it is further out, pistons are not very flexible, so they tend to have issues, especially when they're really, really thin like these ones are. See how thin that is? So the skirt fell off. I'm guessing the motor had a knock in it and they sold the bike. And then some guy on eBay bought it, or some stripper on eBay bought it and stripped it and sold all the parts. Which worked out fine for me because I got the cylinders for a good price because I knew kind of what they were. And I figured what had happened when I saw this. See, I'm smart enough to know what causes this. And when you show me a picture on eBay that looks like this, I know what this dome is. I know who made that piston and what it was for. So even though these look like Harley cylinders down here, I know they're not. Because they had some really crappy pictures. I just didn't know they were this bad here. I knew they were bad, I just didn't know how bad. Okay, so now, if you take this here, you have a mock-up motor over here. Ooh, we can mock stuff up now, look at that. Ooh, it's a mock-up. Now we rotate it around and see if it's going to hit these flywheels. But see, I can't do that because I didn't bore the cases out yet. The dumbass didn't do that yet. I was hoping it would fit in here enough I could do that. You know, there's a problem with this piston. It's got too much material over here on this side to do that. But it's close. Geez, what do you do about that? Dropping on a soft mat down here did not fix the problem. But you know what will fix the problem? My friendly tool here. It's moved in now. Some people call me a butcher. Like that's a bad thing. That didn't go enough. Nope. Now we got to quit playing with this thing. I think that might be enough that time. Oh, it almost went all the way. Okay. So, it's not really going to show me what I want to know. So I'm trying to get it all the way down so I can see if it's going to hit down here. So I go down this far. That's when I run out of piston room over here. And you can see how the piston's already hitting the flywheel in here. Where I can see what you're looking at. So it's hitting right there. We are not at the bottom of the stroke. We still got some more material. We got some more distance to go here on the crank before this is at dead center, bottom dead. Alright, so we're going to have to do this a different way. I was hoping that would tell me something, but I probably should have checked that before I put the case on. See, I was being a dumbass. Oh well. I could probably put a little glue back on that piston and fix it. Yeah, it's still a mock-up piston, it'll still work. Okay, so we'll have to check that later. It still won't fit in this hole right here because it's got other issues with it. But I can make that work too in the cylinder. Alright, so where are we at right now? We need to find some case bolts so I can put the case together. I need to push the crank back out so that I can get this thing bolted in a little bit better for a mock-up. And so we'll be back.